How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargaming China. Um, I haven't made as many videos this year as what I usually knock out, and just wanted to explain why. And I'll show you why. Okay, so first off, you would have noticed that I haven't been back to the Tires Ryan campaign, and that's because I want to do the northern probe, the northern part. Sorry, I want to reintroduce you to the defense of the southern approach to Taiwan by the mainly the Guangxi Provincial Army and the fourth column of the new Fourth Army, of the Fourth Route Army. And I've had to do some painting, some figures for it. So I thought until I paint those figures, we'll just do some other scenarios and little bits and pieces. And I've also been doing a hell of a lot of reading on the Lin Hai campaign, and I had hoped to bring you some a scenario from that battle, but unfortunately enough, when it comes to that particular campaign, especially the fighting around Kaifeng, and the role of the 200th Division, all the Western accounts seem to be very much get slated by Chinese historians. There's a Japanese book that I'm trying to get hold of, Shinho Soho. I just looked that up, but something like that. And that's more of a detailed campaign of the campaign, but from the Japanese perspective. And I've never found much butter for my potatoes when I look at Japanese accounts of this war. So I don't know how I'll go there. So that's another reason I haven't really produced anything, because if I can't do Tires Run because I want to paint more stuff, then excuse me a minute. Then what else should I do? I've been doing Shanghai, but also another reason that I have been forward production is I've spent a lot of this year figure painting and creating figures, and I'll show you some of the stuff I've created is not new to you, but others might be. So you've seen that this year I already showcased my was my latest army. I got the figures in February. I had them painted up by April, and these are going to be done. And they're the lovely 1/72 scale miniatures figures. And these I'll add to and take away from them. And these will be the forces that I'll build up for my later war campaigns too. Because I want to bring you the Battle of Michigan and more of the Burma campaign. So that's what I built. There's about 200 and there's over 200 figures there. So that was my work for beginning in March, April. Now I'll just show you what else I've been working on. I just got to make room on the table. Now, this is my 29th Route Army, a regiment of the 29th Route Army. And as you can see, it's a very large regiment. 14 figures per company for rapid fire. And I'll explain more about this when it comes to putting a scenario on and getting into the history of the 29th Route Army and its leader, the McCavity of Warlords, Song Jae-yuan. And we're going to talk more about the Caesar figures now. Now, I found this channel that I really like. It's called Irregular Magazine. And the chap on it was showcasing a few 20mm figures, you know. And because I've been buying Caesar, World War II Chinese, now I became aware, my mate Jalen, who's a huge contributor to this channel and helps me a lot, bought me 3 boxes of these back from China. Now, I'm going to show you the figures. Now, my mate, or the chap on Irregular Miniatures, was saying, you know, the Caesar figures have changed their plastic, our soft plastic, you know, and I'll just show you some of the figures. These figures that they changed the plastic on aren't actually Caesar figures. These are the Caesar figures. They come in a blue plastic and they're very firm, very hard. And these are the knockoffs. And they're a different plastic. The figures on a lot of the figures are bent. The rifle barrels generally are all bent. Very soft, a very, very soft plastic. So I mean, they could be Caesar and they've changed the plastic, but I very much doubt it because Caesar have always been quality. And when I talked to Jalen, my mate, he pretty much agreed with me that, yeah, these ones probably are knockoffs. However, if that's all you can get, don't worry about it. Use some hot water, fill the sink with hot water, and bend them back right. All the barrels and everything you need. That's what you do with plastic figures. And happily enough, as a nice coincidence, this plastic of the more softer plastic, it takes paint very well. The details show up really well. And if you're going to save a few bucks on them, because even Jalen told me they were cheap, you know, a good price on them, it's probably not worth worrying about. Now, to build my 29th Route Army, took me 7 boxes, 4 of the original and 3 of these to complete, because each battalion is about 64 figures in the regiment, and I'm actually not too sure, but I suspect, but only suspect, I can't prove it, I haven't got anything to say definitely, but I even suspect Song Jae-yuan's regiments might have been of 4 battalions each. And so, but 4 battalions at 64 figures a pop is just, I couldn't be asked. And not only could not be asked painting them, but I doubt whether I'd ever feel such a large formation on the actual table. I want to show you some of the conversions that I have managed to do for the Caesar. They accepted glue very well. Now, I used to always use a glue called KS Bond, but it's getting harder to get. So today I'm going to be doing some work. So I've brought this, and I'll do a few experiments with this and see how that goes. I'll let you know. But funnily enough, because I've chopped up so many of the original Caesar figures to make the conversions, it's really going to be hard to show you the originals because I doubt I have a 4-pack left. So I just want to show you some of the sword figures. So I try to make every company have 4 or 5 big swords, Dardaus, and a bugler. And I managed it okay. And as you can see from these figures, hands are shaking. I have my coffee, I suppose. They do convert nicely. I mean, they convert beautifully. So well worth getting, especially if you want to do a Northwestern Army. Now, I should get more in. I should tell you a lot more about the figures of Caesar, these Caesar figures, because usually, we go and buy a box of soldiers, and if we want mountain troops, we get mountain troops. If we want Africa Corps, we get Africa Corps. And Caesar were pretty brave in what they put in their box. Because you see, what is actually in the Caesar box isn't a Chinese army. It's the armies of China. So unless you're willing to convert the box with a modicum of knowledge, which I'll show you now, I'll give you that. I'll give you what is my understanding. You don't get an accurate army as filled no more as one. But believe me, I mean, don't ever worry too much about accuracy in a Chinese army, because I've said again and again, and I will always say until I die, that it is the rule itself that is the exception in China for all Chinese formations. So no matter what you read as an OB, I'd wager large sums of money on it that is there was only one formation ever formed like that, and the rest just tried to copy it until they come up with a new formation. But getting back to the Northwestern Army. Now, I don't want to. You may ask me right now, or ask yourself, Adam, what are you talking about? That Song Jae-won's 29th Route Army was Northwest Army. It's part of the Northeastern Army. Yes, it was. But originally, before Song Jae-won switched sides, which is, very common, he's been a Northwestern Army. And especially when it comes to 29th Route Army, the hat, do you see the headwear? The hat? That is a distinctive hat of the 29th Route Army. If you have figures with that hat, that headwear, you are looking at the 29th Route Army, or you're looking at, other Northwestern and forces had that, but one of the major distinctive things about the Northwestern Army, about Song Jae-won's 29th Route Army, is the headwear. So when Caesar put that in, they put a few figures in with that headwear, which was beautiful. Now, when we look at the other figures, now, this figure is armed with an M1 carbine. An M1 carbine. Now, how is this? Now, the M1 carbine in China is very interesting. But what is more interesting is that the Chinese started to make, and thanks to Ian at Gun Jesus, at Forgotten Weapons, the Chinese were producing bolt actions rifle copies of the M1 carbine that were bolt action but used the same magazine and at first glance look exactly like an M1 carbine. Now, so this figure could be. I would put my money on this figure, meaning to represent, as it was made to represent the loyal and patriotic army. Now, that's an army that was more or less supplied, trained by the United States Navy, and was active operationally from 1943 to 45. And again, that's an army that in the future, that a formation in the future that I will build and show you. So there straight away, there's two of the original figures in the box that represent two different formations, or when I interpret them of their uniform and equipment, I see two distinct formations from two different timelines. Now, we can go on and on like this with this army because there are other figures. Here's a bugler I've converted that the headwear is again Northwestern Army, but it's for the winter. Flaps folded down, which I thought was a great thing. Caesar did. So in the box there's two or three original figures that will do you for Northwestern Army, two or three that will do you for the Loyal Patriotic Army, or even perhaps late war Michigan Y Force. One of the figures that I will talk about now is this figure with the Thompson. Now, beautiful figure. And again, we could interpret this figure as a Loyal Patriotic Army. But we could also put this, head swap this figure and put it with just about any army we wanted to. Or indeed, it could be without a head figure, it could also be the Red Army. Because the Thompson, there have been thousands and thousands of words dedicated to the Thompson submachine gun in China, but it's still not enough. It is a long story, and we know that between the wars, the Thompson submachine gun probably sold about 1,400 Thompsons, but in China, where they were knocked off, they were getting knocked off and turned out and procured by the thousands in lots of different calibers, by lots of different arsenals at lots of different times. So it's a subject that is so murky that even when, as I said, the people dedicate thousands of words to the subject, and God bless them, I wouldn't be writing words. The full story of the Thompson is still not told in China, anyway. So yeah, the Thompson for your Chinese forces is good enough. Look, I've seen the whole box with the head conversions and the M35 style helm, and they look great. And believe it or not, when I first saw that, I said to the chap, "Oh, I don't believe you could get a M35 armed with, M35 helmeted Chinese soldier armed with a Thompson." And I still have never seen a picture of that, but I have seen M35 helmeted Chinese troops in pictures or in film with the Chinese MP-18 knockoffs, and lots of the European side-mounted magazine submachine guns too. So this box of Caesar, and to skip that subject, I just went for the Thompson, and I will not be surprised if one day in the future I will come across a steel, an M35 helmeted Chinese soldier with a Thompson. I never know where I'm going to go with this, but I should talk more about the Thompson because I think you'll find it interesting. And my surname is Thompson, so I feel I should know something. In China, because of the lack of light machine guns, this I know about for the communists. I'm not too sure if this tactic was employed by other forces. But what the communists would do is they would put all of their submachine guns into one squad, all their Thompsons into one squad, and the squad was very well trained, and their job was to infiltrate as far forward as they could, so that when the attack commenced, because let's remember the communists don't have much artillery, not much in the way of indirect fire weapons. So that when the time was right, the Thompsons, the whole squad of Thompsons would lay down, platoon or squad, whatever, would lay down their suppressive fire on the target while the other troops advanced. And as I said, that was a tactic employed by the communists, by the Red Army, but I don't know if any other Chinese army developed specific tactics for the Thompson. And perhaps some did, because in China we can even find long-barreled, bipod-mounted Thompsons. So, as I said, the whole story of the Thompson is still yet to come. Now then, I want to thank my mate Alistair, good subscriber, because in this army, Alistair sent me some figures, some figures that I wanted to incorporate into this army, because if anybody sends me something, and thank you to all the people who send me things, I do try to put them to use. I do try to make sure that you see them on the table. And I'm just trying to. Oh yeah. So Alistair sent me some beautiful figures. A few more on this, and a lot of them are hand converted, and I wanted to incorporate them into my armies. Now the flag, it's not the flag of the Kuomintang; it's the flag of the Guominjun, and I didn't want to change the flag, so there you go. Some figures that Alistair subscribers sent me, and I like them, and thanks Alistair. They're now part of my 29th Route Army. Now then. These away. So there we've had a quick look at the Caesar figures, and as I said, if we keep going, there's a Caesar figure on of a Bren gun, and if we look, that is a Northwestern Army hat they'd wear. So Caesar did a great job, but that figure's just not right historically, And in fact, Chinese Army in India, X-Force, maybe, could be, but I'd have to do a lot more. I'm not saying that, because I always feel like an idiot whenever I say that something didn't happen. Because as I said, this war, it's just, it's mind-bogglingly contradictory. So maybe the sculptors of Caesar did know more than me, and I wouldn't be surprised because they are Chinese. And do you want to make a box of toy soldiers and you're into toy soldiers? You probably know what you're talking about. So that's the figure that surprises me, and I wonder about. And the Caesar figures. Caesar are the only figures that have got the straw hat, and these represent a southern army. So you can't have them with a northern army. It's still a nice figure. So if you wanted to put these figures with your Sichuan forces or Guangxi forces, or even probably some forces from Yunnan, that's quite acceptable. Now, what I've got to do is I'm just going to go out of sight once more. Anybody watching this? Nobody. Okay, so I'm just going to get out of sight once more, sort my figures out. Now, I'll be back. I want to get my other army out. So here is the other army that I've been working on. And again, I'm using Caesar figures, and I'll use some of the original Caesar Chinese World War II figures, and I'm also using the Caesar World War II French infantry. Because the Guangxi clique, where's that? Where's the Ariane helmet, the Adrian helmet, the French helmet? And as you can see, what I'm using there is I'm going to convert the Airfix World War II, World War I French, use helmets and cut down the coats and things like that. And the Guangxi clique, when I finish this army, which hopefully will be maybe the end of this month, we'll get back to the Taiyuan campaign, and we'll look at the defense of the southern approaches. That the Japanese 13th Division was attacking up. So these figures, again, really, I'm going to do a lot of conversions for them because obviously there's no coats. But I have incorporated some of the Caesar figures into this army to get my money's worth out of the box, and giving them French Adrian head swaps, and it's a bit far forward. Sometimes, let's do that again. But generally, it's an original Caesar figure. So yeah, it's a nice conversion. These will go into my this is my Guangxi army. Again, I'm using the Caesar figures with a head conversion, and all for the Guangxi army of the Guangxi clique, and then we will look at the battles. Well, that's another thing. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the resistance of the Guangxi Provincial Army. In this campaign for the defense of Taiwan, but there's not much detail. So it's going to have to be a case of trying to get some books together and see how accounts differ, if there are any, because again, I've been looking for a few months, and I'm only looking at the campaign for it as a war game for a few years, and just can't find much info. All right, so I've told you why I haven't been doing much gaming. I've showed you my projects, and the figures I'm using. I've explained a little bit more about the Caesar figures and my experiments with glue. Thankfully, the weather's cooling down now, so it's a pleasure to be in the shed again. And now I'm going to probably spend the afternoon painting. Although I should go and do some bloody gardening. I know I'm talking quietly today, but it's a lovely day. Just seems a shame to talk too loud. What else can I talk about? Nobody's bloody watching, so we'll call it a day. All right, lads. Nice talking to you. Take care. Bye.